Hello my friends, this is Dragonheart, the Prince of Wales, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be building a Vampire Counts army. So recently I took part in some 500 point battles with my friend Paul and his Warhammer group that he used to play with back in the day. They're all quite new to Warhammer Fantasy, or they haven't played Warhammer Fantasy in a long time. It's a bit of a mixture, and they're all building up armies slowly, and they're able to field 500 point armies. So as I recently started collecting Vampire Counts, I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity for me to get to grips with some of the rules of the Vampire Counts and start using the models that I have been using. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the all my models that I own currently. So that's going to be like the one section of this video. And then at the end of the video, in the second part of the video, we're actually going to build a 1,000 point list, because we're going to be going from 500 points to 1,000 points. I have enough models here to do a 2,000 point army quite easily, but I'm going to build a 1,000 point list, a decent 1,000 point list that has some strengths and things like that, and will be quite formidable in a 1,000 point setting. Anyway guys, let's cut to the models and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at the models that I used in my 500 point battles that I had recently. And these have all been painted up, as you can see. I probably will go back in and do some touch-ups on the ghouls, but for the most part, these units are more or less done. So I'm going to start off with the direwolves. I'm not going to go through every single model here because it'll take up a lot of time, but these are my direwolves. You see I've done the bases. You can see that I've done some of the red on the ribs and stuff. I might go back in and do a little bit of dry brushing, but for the most part, I'm quite happy with these. This one is the Doomwolf, the champion. He's on the rock, but they're looking very proud as he's howling. And I got 10 of these in total. These are the Age of Sigmar models. And I found with the direwolves, they're a very cheap unit. They're very fast. They have Slaver in charge, which means that they get a +1 to their strength characteristic on a turn that they charged. So they are quite useful. Obviously, Vampire Counts being very slow models, having something quick like these in the army is obviously a very good thing. Now I have 20 ghouls, and ghouls have poisoned attacks. Previously, in the old editions of Warhammer the Old World, a ghoul would be, on a 6, would be an auto wound with a poison. That's now changed with the errata, the 1.5 update, so that means now that on a roll of a 6, when you're trying to do a hit, you're basically getting +1 to your wound characteristic. So say now you'd usually wound on a 4 up, you're now wounded on a 3 up sort of thing. So it's still quite good. I might go back in and redo bits of these, so it looks okay, it's not too bad, but there's certainly room for improvement on some of my painting. I got to redo some of the bases as well. As you can see, it's a little bit shoddy. I just get a little bit of extra colours in there, but this is pretty much what my ghouls look like. This one is more of a necrotic kind of green, if it does focus. More of a necrotic green. And I got one next to it by here, which I've used more of a bony kind of colour. That's better. You can see it's a bit more of a bony sort of colour on that one. More of a yellowy, bony colour. This next model I haven't used yet. There's a Vargulf. This is the only model I have in my entire Vampire Counts army that is not Age of Sigmar. This is an old school Warhammer Fantasy model, which I found online. There's a website called Warbuy, and it's basically a website curated where people sell second-hand models they don't want anymore. I bought this for £12, which I thought was a pretty decent deal. It's been painted up. It's on a circle base, so I had to rebase it, and I got to redo the base. As you can see, it's had one coat, but it's all all over the place. I got to do mud effects and stuff like that. And I might do a little bit of a touch-up on some of the colour. It's got a very mossy-looking green on it, and I might go back in and redo bits of that. But the Vargulf looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to using this in future battles. Next up, we have 20 Skelly Bobs, or Skeleton Warriors, to give them their official name. And I can't get it to focus, which is just totally typical. If I start back here and then bring it in, maybe that will work. I'm going to bring another one into the frame just to see if I can get that one to work. There we go. So this is actually the champion unit. This is my Skeleton Warrior champion. These are the Age of Sigmar Skeleton Warriors, and I basically bought myself the Bloodcrave Hunt Spearhead, which gives you a Vampire Lord, Skeleton Warriors. It gives you 3 Vargeist or Crypt Horrors, and it gives you Blood Knights. And I got 20 of these, they're pretty good. I'm a Tomb Kings player, so I could have put Skeleton Warriors towards this anyway, but I kind of wanted a different style. I didn't want to have the same style across 2 armies, so I'm quite happy with these. I think 20 should probably be enough, but I can always buy another box of Skeleton Warriors should I need them. We're going to have some characters by here now, so we're going to start off with this little fella by here. And this is my Cane Wraith. You can see I've painted it up. It's got blues on there, it's got little bits of greens on there, same with the scythe as well. Pretty useful model, it's ethereal. It causes terror. The scythe does D3 wounds, so it's a little bit random on how many wounds you're actually causing. But for, I think it's like 50 points in the army, it's a nice little thing to have in characters if you've got 50 points to spare. I think most people would probably put that towards a magical item or something, but in a 500 point game, this model was okay. It doesn't move very far, it's got movement 6, so it did take me a few turns to get it into combat. Once I got it into combat, it did okay, because a lot of the people that I was against didn't have magical attacks, but 1 or 2 of them did. So the ones that did usually killed it, but the ones that didn't, it usually was winning combat by like 1, that sort of thing. But a pretty useful model to have. Next up in characters, we have the White King, or White Lord, depending on how you want to use it. I'm really pleased with the paint job of this model. I think it looks really, really cool. I've used a lot of army painter paint here. I've got a golden crown, I've got like ruddy fur on there, I've done a little bit of a dry brush on the fur there. I've got like a nice red cloak on there, nice metallic colours, got the silver on the keys, I got a little skull going on the base. So overall, really, really happy with this. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can actually try and see what's going on here. Really pleased with the paint job of this one. I think it's one of my better looking paint jobs, so pleased with that. I'm not like the best of painters. I want my models to look half decent, but they don't need to be spectacular. As long as you can say, yep, that's a White King, that looks okay, I'm happy. I just don't want to like offend people on the table with like unpainted models. We have a Banshee. We do have a Banshee, which is obviously one of the strongest units in the Vampire Count's army. As you can see, this is an Age of Sigmar one. I can't take the credit for painting this one. This was actually a second-hand model. Again, this was on the website Warbuy, which is where I got the Vargul from. It was on a circle base, so I have had to rebase it, and I do need to do some paint job on the base, but for the most part, really, really pleased with this model. And I'm going to be taking this probably when we build the list in a second. I think I'm probably going to include this. So, yep, Banshee is a must-have. Obviously, it has the Wailing Dirge, the Scream, which is a very strong ability within the Vampire Count. And then finally, within this box that we have here, we have the Vampire Lord himself, if he does decide to want to get into focus. There we go, so that's a lot better. I've painted it with lots of different like reds. I've tried to make the reds look a little bit metallic. I've tried to do a little bit of blending, especially on like the body and stuff, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I've gone for like a blonde hair. It's got like obviously the white vampiric face. I don't think you'll be able to see this on camera because it'll probably go out of focus, but the mouth's got a little bit of blood on it as well. Then obviously I've gone for like black bats as well on the hairline, and I've gone for a nice sort of deep silver then on the mace. I'm a big fan of the film Dracula Untold, which stars Luke Evans, and they have like a red metallic dragon sort of armor on it, and I kind of wanted to replicate that a little bit with this Lord. That's why I've gone for the color scheme that I went for. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. So that is my box of painted units that we've used so far in Warhammer the Old World. Like I said in the intro, I've had 4 battles at 500 points, and that's basically my introduction to Warhammer with the vampires. However, we got this guy by here. This is a zombie dragon, which is a very cool, menacing looking model. The paint job is really cool, and I can take some credit for the paint job with this one as well. So this was bought off of Vinted. I got this for, I think I paid like £23 for it, which is a steal. It was on a circle base, the wing was broken, and it's only been half painted. Like the wings hadn't been done, and there's other bits of the model that hadn't been done. The throne by here hadn't been done. So there was a lot of stuff I had to do. The rocks hadn't been done. It was just in a bit of a mess. So I spent quite a bit of time in the past kind of couple of weeks just doing a bit of restoration work on this. I've put on the correct base for Warhammer the Old World. I've redone the rock, I've fixed the wings, I've painted the wings, I've done a nice kind of red wings all across the board there, and I'm pleased with how this turns out. Now obviously this is a zombie dragon, but I'm more likely going to use this as a Terrorgeist, I think. Although there will be occasions where I want to use it as a zombie dragon, but the only difference really is that the zombie dragon has this pose. The Terrorgeist, which you'll see in a moment, has a completely different pose, and they have different heads. But the rest of the model is pretty much identical. So they're very easy to sort of interchange and say that is this or this is that. So this is what I've been working on recently, and I'm looking forward to getting this on the table as well. So that definitely completes all of the painted models. I have some other units by here. So this one is a box of Soulblight Gravelord's Graveguard. And as you can see, the cellophane is still on. I haven't unboxed this yet. Again, I had this for a very good deal. So I bought this off of Vinted. And this is what I say, Vinted is sometimes a good place to look for models. Someone had bought this basically months ago, hadn't opened it, decided that they weren't going to play anymore. So it's just been sitting on a shelf. They sold it for £28, which is really good because this retails a little bit higher than that. I was in Dublin recently and I saw a box of this brand new in a local game store there, and they wanted, it would have worked out euros to pounds, it would have worked out £38. So I basically had this for £10 cheaper than I saw it, so happy with that. And obviously Graveguard are like elite infantry in this army, so I wanted to get some of them on the table. And again, the argument is I could have probably used my Tomb Guard from my Tomb King's box, but again, I want things to look different between both armies, so that's why I didn't do that. So we've got a box of Graveguard. Then by here, I got two boxes, I can do these at the same time. We have a box of Barrow Knights, and we have a box of Blood Knights. So we'll start with the Barrow Knights. I'm going to be using these as Black Knights. I think if you have a White King or a White Lord in characters, you can take these as a core unit, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but I'm tempted to do that in some of my lists going forward. I haven't built these yet, they're obviously still in the box. And the same with these units of Blood Knights, so I bought these separate. These, I'm looking forward to building these. These are like elite cavalry, one of the best cavalry units in the entire game. They have such great abilities and rules. So the fact, like in challenges, you can decide to use just a regular dude. Say this is your champion by here, and you're doing a challenge. You can just send him in to do the challenge instead, or that kind of thing. They also have Dark Vitality, which means that if the Vampire Lord in your army, the general, dies, they do not suffer crumbling like other units do. So basically because they're a vampire themselves, so they've obviously got their own magical kind of properties, haven't they? So very, very good. Looking forward to using these. I think they will be a very good unit to play with and have on the table. And then finally we have this big box by here, which I'm gonna drag in by here. Whoops, ooh dear. Almost broke a model straight away then. Ignore this block of 20 archers. That's for my Empire army. They've been built recently and I'm going to be spray painting them, but I've just put them in this box because this is my box of spray painting. And on the topic of Blood Knights, you'll see that I have Blood Knights by here. These are not quite finished because I haven't done the fronts by here of them, so that's something I have to go back in and do before I do end up spray painting them. I think I might spray paint these red for a change as well, just because they're going to be predominantly a red model. But I got 5 of them, and as I mentioned earlier, I got the Soulblight Gravelord Bloodcrave Hunt box, which is a spearhead box, and that's where these 5 come from. So then if we go from right to left, so we've got Fellbats. So we got a unit of 3 Fellbats. They're just plastic, as you can see, just put on a base. So we got 3 of them. We have 3 Crypt Horrors, so I'm just going to show you one of the Crypt Horrors. Got a unit of 3 of these. That was also built from the spearhead. We have Vargeists, so I'm just going to grab this one by here. So we have a unit of 3 of these. These have been primed black. This was a Vinted purchase again. And I got this for like 20 quid. Somebody sold this for 20 quid. They wanted a bit more, I was able to knock them down and save a few quid on like postage and stuff. So quite pleased with that for a box of these. I do think they retail a lot more than that. So I got them. I'm just going to move this out the way because it's just taking up a lot of room. character-wise, we have this little chap by here, which is not like zooming in properly, but it is a Strigoi Ghoul King. He's on a rock. He's like got a funny looking little pose going on by here. This is the Strigoi Ghoul King. Try it again just to get it in. Not quite. Okay, he's not focusing, but he is definitely there. I've also got this by here, which is also a Strigoi Ghoul King. This is the one which I mentioned earlier. Well, I can't remember if I did mention it, but this would go with the zombie dragon from before. So if I bring the zombie dragon back into pose by here for a second, you got the throne by there. So he's basically supposed to be like jumping off the throne like that. I'm going to magnetize the throne, and I'm going to magnetize the Strigoi Ghoul King here, and also my vampires, because I got 2 vampire riders. One's got a spear and a nice looking helm with fancy like bat kind of ear things going on, and I got one then which looks a little bit more like Manfred von Carstein, and I've given him a sword which actually broke, so I've had to repair the sword, which is super annoying. But I got 2 vampire lords here. They're riders, so I'm going to paint these up and magnetize them, and they can probably be used then as riders as well. Maybe one of the vampires I can put on a horse and have it as a nightmare, which would be really cool. We have a necromancer by here. We have a master necromancer on foot, which again is really cool. I think you need to have a necromancer. Well, you don't need to have a necromancer, but it's very good to have one in like a 2,000 point list kind of battle. So we've got him by here, who again does not want to focus. Why don't you want to focus me? You can see what he is. So he's there, and then just knock the camera over. Then if I move this across slightly, like so, I've got a bunch of zombies. Zombies are zombies. You know what a zombie is. But I basically had a box of 20 of them. I bought a Age of Sigmar box of 20. This one's got a shovel by here, and he's looking quite menacing. Got like roots coming out of his side and his shoulder and stuff. I built 20 of them up, but you will notice that I've done a little bit of kit bashing. So it's like there's one coming from the ground with his hands handcuffed, which I think is quite funny. I've got another one coming from the ground. He's got like one arm just in the air. And then I've got some like gravestones and stuff and things like that. Just like unit fillers, or I can just say, oh, that's another zombie. So I've gone from having 20 zombies to having 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 31 zombies I could potentially put out, which I think is pretty decent. So that is everything to be worked on, so everything to be primed and painted and get ready for the table. But I'm going to leave this one to last by here. I've obviously moved him out of shot, and here he is. This is the Terrorgeist. This is what he looks like. So if I bring the zombie dragon back in, you can see the differences between the two. So the wings and stuff are exactly the same, but the Terrorgeist body leans forward. The zombie dragon's is more upright, more like a T-Rex on its like hind legs. And then the Terrorgeist's head is like completely different then to the head of a zombie dragon. So I can basically use these as 2 Terrorgeists. So I could say like, right, 2 Terrorgeists, you know, deal with it. Or I can, you know, I can have this one as a you know, a rider. This could be a mount for someone, this one. And this is just built as the regular Terrorgeist. So he looks quite menacing. He's got his claws and talons on some rocks, different rocks and stuff going on. But obviously he's there to be primed. He's got like all the frilly bits coming down the neck and stuff like that. But the Terrorgeist, it's one of my favourite units in the entire game. Not just the entire game, but like the entire lore and stuff. Like I'm coming from a Total War background of getting into this hobby. And the first faction I played was the Vampire Counts, and one of my favourite units in that game is the Terrorgeists. I enjoy the Zombie Dragon as well, but the Terrorgeists, something about them, just these like, you know, these weird bony looking fleshy bats, which look a little bit like a dragon. Something about them just looks really, really cool and menacing. And obviously they can fly. They have an ability which I can't remember off the top of my head. Basically, when they die, I remember it's called now. It's called Infested. So you're in combat. So say now, let's pretend that's not a zombie dragon. Let's pretend that's something else or whatever. And they're in combat. They're in base-to-base combat, and the zombie dragon kills the Terrorgeist. The Terrorgeist is infested, which means that it's riddled with all sorts of things. He basically explodes, and the explosion will cause a bunch of hits, and I think it's like strength 4 or 5, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but after I'd look at the rules. But that's really cool for anything that's in base contact with it. It also has like Wailing Dirge, it's got the screams, so it can do a lot of damage with the screams, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just a very fun model to have. I'm looking forward to using it, and yeah, I can't wait. Anyway, I'm going to cut this segment of the video now, and we're going to go back to my computer where we're going to build my 1,000 point list.
Okay, so we're at the point of the video where we're going to build a 1,000 point vampire count list. So to start off with, we're going to go into characters straight away. And I think I know what I'm going to do, and I mentioned this previously, and that is the Strigoi Ghoul King. And we're going to put him on a Terrorgeist. I want to have mobility, I want to have a unit that can move around the battlefield quick, and the fact that it can use the screams. It's not going to be a scream heavy list, but it's going to have that potency from a distance as well as up close in combat. So we're going to go with the Strigoi Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, and then we're going to go, and I think we're going to swap out the Cairn Wraith, which is 50 points, to the Tomb Banshee. There's no additional add-ons on the Banshee, it's just hand weapon, but it's Indomitable 1, it's ethereal, magical attacks, it's got a 6-up regen, it causes terror, and it has got Wailing Dirge. And a Wailing Dirge, I should probably mention, is quite an interesting ability. So during the shooting phase of its turn, unless it marched during the preceding movement phase, a model with a special rule may make a Wailing Dirge attack. A Wailing Dirge attack may target any enemy unit that is within 8 inches of this model. That includes units that are engaged in combat, and that this model can draw a line of sight to, or that this model is engaged in combat with. So somebody could be in combat with the Banshee, it comes around to my shooting phase, and I can literally go scream within combat. That's how it's written, which is insane. As long as you can draw line of sight, whether that's in combat with them, or line of sight to them in combat with somebody else, or just a unit on its own, you can hit them. And the target must make a leadership test with a -2 modifier, and if it's failed, the target suffers a number of wounds equal to the amount in which it's failed. So say your leadership is 10 usually, and you're down by -2, so your leadership is now 8, and you roll on the dice and you roll 2 5s, and it's 10, you failed by 2, you would take 2 wounds, providing you can make provided you don't make your ward save. You don't get an armor or regen save, but just a ward save. I fought in a tournament in Nottingham against a Vampire Counts player. He's like an old school Vampire Counts player, and I had no answer to this at all. I think units that have very strong leadership and stuff would do okay against it, but it's who you pick and who you choose to attack with it, I suppose. But it's such an interesting move to have. So we're going to have those two as my 2 characters. In the core, which is going to be the majority of this army, we're going to go with the Skeleton Warriors, and let's just make them full command for now. So let's just do that. I want to make them more than this, so I'm going to put them on 20 for now. Magical Standard, so it's Hellish Figure that I want to take, because this is the one which gives them the reserve move. I found in my 500 point battle they weren't very good. They were just so slow that I would get in combat on like turn 5. I want them up the board quicker, so let's give them the standard of Hellish Figure. That puts them on 155 points for now. And then I think we'll just go with Crypt Ghouls. Do I give them a champion or not? It gives you just 1 plus 1 to attack with Crypt Ghouls. Yeah, that's the stat line by here. 2 to 3. Let's just do it for now. Let's put one of them there. So we've actually made our core with just those 2 units, which is good. We're 1 point over, so we could just have that. Come back. I think I'll come back. So because I got a Strigoi Ghoul King, that unlocks the Vargeist. I can take the Vargeist unit, which is what I'm going to do. So let's take 3 of them. I could put a champion on it. I think this is exactly the same. It's just like, yeah, it's just +1 attack, so everything else is the same. Vargeists are really interesting. They got Armor Being 2, they got their Wicked Claws, which is a -2 AP, Dark Vitality. I mentioned earlier about the Blood Knights having Dark Vitality. These have Dark Vitality as well, which is quite useful. They are flammable, so we want to try and stay away from flaming attacks. They're Indomitable 1, they are Frenzy, and they are skirmishers as well with the 6-up regen, so I think they're quite good to have. So pop them in. So we're on 854 points out of 1,000. The Strigoi Ghoul King is going to be my general, so pop him as a general. I've had to think about this, and we've got a couple of items and stuff we can do. So I'm going to start off. So I can make him a level 1 wizard for 30 points, or a level 2 for 60. However, on vampiric powers, for the same price as the level 1, we've got Dark Acolyte, which gives him Invocation of Nehek. Now, Invocation of Nehek is usually necromancers that use that. They have it sort of built in. However, I can pay to have it. So this vampire would get the Invocation of Nehek special rule. For the purposes of using this special, this model counts as a level 1. So he becomes a level 1 anyway, but he would have Invocation of Nehek, which, of course, is the leadership tech you take where you can recover wounds. So if the unit type is infantry or heavy infantry, it recovers a number of wounds equal to this character's level of wizardry and a d3. So potentially, say you've got skeleton warriors, for example, he's level 1 wizard, so that's 1 wound. He rolls a d3, say he rolls high, that's an extra 3. So you could have potentially have 4 wounds back, so that's 4 skeletons coming back. And then if it's like light cavalry or war beasts, it's a +1 and so forth. And characters, if it covers a number of wounds equal to this character's level of wizardry +1, so that could be like 2, that'd be 2. And then if this monster's infantry, monster's cavalry, heavy cavalry, equal to the wizard's level, which is a level 1. And then if it's like a behemoth, so if it's like Terrorgeist, for example, you're basically getting a single wound. So I think for the purposes of a 1,000-point battle, you want to have some kind of wizard. I mean, I could go for a level 2 wizard, but I think the benefit of having a level 1 with Invocation of Nehek is good. So I'm going to go with that, because in the 500-point game that I had recently, those battles I didn't take any wizards at all. And most people didn't, but there were a couple of level 1s running around, and I didn't really have any answer apart from try and Fated to dispel. That's all I could really do. So I think having a level 1 at least gives me something, and the fact that he can raise the dead is going to be good in this setting. So we're going to go with a Dark Acolyte. Now with magic items, there was one which I saw recently, if I can find it, if I scroll down. I think it's this one, Scepter of Norot. Please tell me how you pronounce it, because I'm not sure. Is it French? Is it German? Who knows? The Scepter, we're going to call it the Scepter. The bearer of the scepter may attempt to resurrect the fallen by using Invocation of Nehek special rule twice during their command subphase rather than the usual once. On a d6 each time the scepter is... roll a d6 each time the scepter is used. On a roll of 1, the bearer loses a wound. So it's high risk, high reward. So my level 1 wizard on the Terrorgeist, he does his Invocation of Nehek as normal. He gets 4 skeleton warriors back. He then decides to do it again because we've lost maybe a big round of combat recently. We go in a second time and we use the scepter, and it says each time the scepter is used. This isn't a once per game sort of thing, so you can do it a little bit like the Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings have an ability which I think is the same sort of points where I could use the Arise ability twice. So this is very similar. The only difference is on a roll of 1, once I use the scepter, the bearer would lose a single wound. So I could potentially lose wounds, but the undead, you can bring wounds back. So that's good. Potentially you bring in 8 skeleton warriors back. So I want to give him that as well. So that puts us on to 919 points, which is pretty good. Now, there is something I was thinking of taking with this, because I haven't... the list I'm building, I want it to be strong and fairly competitive, but I also want it to force me to paint. And you would have seen that I have a lot of zombies, and I kind of want to use them, so I'm going to chuck some zombies in there. Do I give them any command? I don't really know. I think we just want to play around with this and see if we can get these to mark up to 1,000. So let's see if I can upgrade maybe a couple of skeletons. It's 9, 8, 9. 23, I put some. Okay, so if I put 23, only 6 off 1,000. And then we need 6, don't we? 6 points from somewhere. Did I give the Vargeist? No, I didn't. Oh, 7. Oh dear, 7 points. Oh, these are 5. It's trying to find out where I can I give him thrust and spears, that puts him way over. If I go down by a skeleton, maybe go full command with that. I get within 1, I can get 999, which would be fine. I could give the zombies. Full command. I don't know if I want to do that though. Is that a waste of points? Or I just give them a musician maybe? In case they draw combat, which they're not going to win combat anyway, are they? Let's be honest. They just have to hold things up. If I get rid of the champion, of the ghouls, and then I'm just going to bring that up. Okay, so we do 23. Let's get a couple more zombies. Okay, 22. Okay, we're still 6 away. Wait a minute, we're 6 away. But if I give them, yeah, there we go, 1,000. So basically, what I've done there, 23 skeleton warriors, which have full command. They have light armor and shields, hand weapons, and they've got the hellish vigor, so they can get up the board quickly. So that's what we got with them. The crypt ghouls, they are skirmishers. They have poisoned attacks. They also have reserve move as well, so they can also move again. They have a champion who has an extra attack, so they're just there to be a bit of a nuisance in that kind of front line. They're there as a bit of chaff at the front to sort them out. The zombies are zombies. They are there for shits and giggles, and they are there just to be zombies. Basically, they're there just to. If I can get into somebody where I can force them to charge zombies, say it's like a frenzied unit, and somehow I've been able to manipulate them with the crypt ghouls or something to then get the frenzy, they have to charge zombies. That's going to be hilarious. So they're sort of there for that really. The Vargeists are there because they are quite good, and I said if your general is a Strigoi Ghoul King mutually exclusive with Terrorgeists, which is what I've got. I've got a Strigoi Ghoul King who is on a Terrorgeist, so we're going to take the 3 Vargeists without commands, just without the champion, just them with the Wicked Claws, which is the -2 AP, and like I said, they got some good abilities here. Their stat line, so they have movement 6, their weapon skill 4, they're a strength 5, toughness 4 unit. They have 3 wounds each, so it's 9 wounds between them. They got a 4 initiative, and the ones I'm taking will all have 3 attacks each, so it'll be 9 attacks, and leadership 7, so they're okay, but they got some pretty good abilities there. The Banshee's there to cause terror and to scream at things and just cause havoc, and it's ethereal, so only magical things can attack it. Antidompal 1, which is good in like a combat res situation as well. And as you can see, it's 1 per 1,000 points, which is what we are, a 1,000 point game. And then finally we got the Strigoi Ghoul King. He's 395 points. He's over quarter. No, I can't do maths. Yeah, he's over quarter. He's actually over a third. He's over a third of my army. He is my general. He has a hand weapon. He's on a Terrorgeist, which if you have a look at the stat line of a Terrorgeist, you can see it's movement 6, weapon skill 3, strength 5, and you get +1 toughness, +5 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks. It's a behemoth. It has filth encrusted talons, which is strength at AP -1 with poisoned attacks, which is going to be good because with the new poison attack rules, you get in +1 now instead, so that's going to be good. So that's the filth encrusted talons. It has a rancid maw, and in combat, this model must make one of its attacks each turn with this weapon. So I think what I'll do when I'm rolling to attack, I'll use a different coloured dice for the rancid maw, and that's strength at AP -2. Again with armor bane. It's also multiple wounds too, so if you're fighting characters, that's going to be pretty good. So happy days. And then it has light armor. It's calloused hide. It counts as light armor, which is cool. And these are the abilities and stuff that it has. So it's close order. It's fly 9. It's Indomitable 1. Infested, which I talked about earlier. So it's actually it suffers D6 strength 2 hits with an AP of -1. Still pretty good though. Infested. And then it is a large target. It's necromantic and dead. It has a 5-up regen. So with light armor it's 6-up, isn't it? So 6-up should be a 6-up armor save. It would be a 5-up regen save. It has stomp attacks at D6, which is the one I like, because I've used monsters before and they got like just one stomp, or they've got like D3 stomps, or it'll be like D3 plus 1, so you get like 2 stomps out of it or something. D6, especially if you roll a 6, is really good. And quite often in combat, it's the stomps to win combat. It has swift stride, so it can get up the board very quickly. It causes terror, which is fantastic. It's what you want out of something like this. And then finally, it's got the Wailing Dirge, which I've mentioned before. I'm quite happy with this. I think it's a strong 1,000 point list. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, if there's anything you would do, if you'd add or remove things. But for a 1,000 point game, I think I've got quite a lot of strength in depth. It's only really the zombies. Like I think that's the thing that I would possibly get rid of, but I want them there just for like the thematics of the game and the fact that it forces me to paint 22 zombies, which is what I want to do. I gotta get the Vargeists and the zombies painted up, and then the list will probably more or less be as I want it. But that's kind of what we do. Remember these little battles to get used to the rules, especially the new rules with the errata and stuff, but also it forces me to paint models up, which is what I want to do. So anyway guys, I've been Dragonheart. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, goodbye.